Hello, and welcome to another K9 University Dog Training Challenge session. My name is Angel Soriano with K9 University, and together with our training staff, we will be conducting today's class and demonstrations. The challenge series deals with stopping your dog from jumping on you in simply 3 days. If you're watching this video, then you know the issue well, and you know that jumping can actually cause some damage. Okay, a dog that jumps will cause scratching, hurt, will make you fall, will hurt a small child, a weak person, a frail person, an elderly person. Let's face it, jumping is just simply bad manners for your dog to have. Okay, as it would be for your kids to jump all over visitors if they come home. We all know that's also not acceptable. So, if it's not okay for you to greet your friends that way, then why is it okay for your dog to greet your friends in this sort of way? So stop using the excuses that he's too excitable, he just loves you, etc., etc. Or he never jumps on anybody else. I've heard that before too. We all know that most of these excuses are probably not true anyway. So to be effective at curbing this problem, let's move forward. It helps to understand why the dog jumps on people in the first place. Okay, so a dog typically jumps up to greet somebody. Okay, there's a lot of papers out there and people talking about dominance, etc., etc. The truth of the matter is that a dog jumps on people due to the fact that they've been taught to do that, to be able to greet properly or to say hello, obviously. The dominance part of it, it's a different type of behavior altogether. Today we're dealing with this, okay, which is the dog jumping on you due to the fact that he is greeting or saying hello. Dominance is held for a different video altogether sometime in the future. If you go back to your dog's early puppyhood, you'll typically find a long history of owners riling the dog up, getting him excited, and then the dog jumps and says his hellos, and then we pet him because it's cute to say hello to your puppy. Well, guess what? We have taught him some real bad behavior. As we say hello, the dog understands it to be a reward, and now the dog knows, as an early puppy, that it's okay to jump up. The problem is that although it's okay to jump up at that early age, later on he's going to be a 60-pound, 80-pound, sometimes over 100-pound dog jumping on people, and we no longer think is cute. Okay, so let's face it, we caused the early problem in the first place. So now you got the dog as an adult. Then go right ahead and blame the last owner, maybe. I don't know. All this to say, dogs learn from association and from repeated rewards. So if as a puppy you rewarded them that way, then now you have this behavior. Now, some of you have gotten an older dog. You either rescued or purchased or inherited an older dog, and the condition came with them. Then that's cool. Go ahead and blame the last owner. But guess what? This is fixable, and we're going to fix it today, actually in the next 3 days. So if you're presently wanting to feel better about this problem, then simply know that nearly 95% of all dogs jump on their owners or visitors. You're not alone. Okay, that's 95%. That's pretty bad. This problem exists due to the fact that most people do not practice reliable behavior curbing techniques that work on their dogs. Plain and simple. Let's face it, if one method does not work, you must change your method and try another one, and a second one, and a third one, and a combination of them. Eventually, the bottom line is that you'll have several methods that actually work with your dog. The good news is that today is day 1 of 3. Okay, we will break this up in 3 days. It's very important. So, before we start, though, we must have some ground rules. Okay, everything in life has some ground rules. So, ground rule 1, you must be consistent. That means every single time. Let's face it, had you been consistent all along, you wouldn't be watching this, we wouldn't be in this pickle, and guess what? The dog wouldn't be jumping on you. So, we must establish some boundaries. We must understand, we must keep the dog in a frame of mind that understands solidly that you are consistent in your message, in your methods, in everything you do. Okay, so consistency is a must. Okay, all right. Ground rule 2: you cannot get frustrated. If you do, the lesson has been wasted. The dog won. All is over. You are able to program yourself to say, for the next 3 days, I will not get frustrated. This is nothing more than just a lesson, okay? Now, you may want to have your favorite drink nearby, and if you do get frustrated, you won't. Now, ground rule lesson number 3. You cannot allow your dog to get frustrated. Okay? That's when you go too long, or if you have gotten frustrated, then you will move that frustration into your dog. Okay? There's no reason for that. Just spend the time and do it correctly. Remember, you have pre-programmed yourself to not get frustrated. Don't allow the dog to get frustrated. If he does, by the way, the whole lesson is void anyway. So take a breather if you do. Walk away. And by the way, unlike the last the last time when you were frustrated and you took a drink, and it's probably not a good idea to do it this time, okay? Ground rule 4. You must have an off command. Okay, what does that mean? You got to have a word, an action that the dog understands that means get off me. Okay, for the proper for the purposes of this lesson, we're going to use off. Okay, it would not be fair for me to just expect you to read my mind without communicating properly. So have a clear, unique command for each and every command or action you want your dog to do. In this case, we will use off. Ground rule 5. The person being jumped on is the one charted with the responsibility of saying the off command. If others say it, then the dog quickly learns that, guess what? They should not be jumping on the person who said it. So, chart yourself, program yourself again to say, if the dog is jumping on me, I will say off. If the dog is attempting to jump on mom, then mom must say the word off. You repeat this enough times, the dog is smart enough, he gets it. Ground rule 6, you will need to set them up. That's just basically creating a staging event that causes the dog to repeat the event so you can actually have an opportunity to correct it. It's not that tough. If you allow this to go by chance, and what I mean by that is if you do not use a staging event, then you will never be ready to do the actual command because you're going to be preoccupied, busy, running your life, doing your thing. And guess what? The dog will jump on you when you least expect it. So you're better off just staging it and saying, okay, for the next 10 minutes, we're going to do this, and I'm going to stage it. I'm going to cause the behavior that the dog will normally use to jump on me, and I'm going to be already prepared to do my off in my actions. Okay? Ground rule 7. You must mix up your methods. For the next few days or so, we're going to show you several methods. Mixing up your training methods makes it harder for your dog to really understand what is going on, and you always catch them. Okay, you will always catch them by doing that. If you always do the same method, the dog learns it, and they start avoiding you. The only consistent message should be the off command through all these procedures, but everything else is going to be mixed. Remember that you must reliably interrupt bad behavior and reward good behavior. Easy enough, isn't it? Number 8, always reward the off behavior or action, not just the off command. Does that make sense? Don't just reward the fact that you set off. Reward the fact that the dog did not jump on you without saying a word. That is an action. The action was off. He didn't jump on you. The dog in a couple of days will be acting properly. And when you come home and he doesn't jump on you, it shouldn't be your opportunity to say, aha, you learned your lesson. It should be the opportunity to say, good, off, and continue the imprinting. Okay, remember, dogs learn through the positive reinforcement and positive associations associated with it. We only use interruptions simply because humans just have zero patience to wait it out properly. And last, ground rule 9, we must imprint the new wanted behavior. Imprinting is repetition. Okay? You will never be successful at this or any other type of training you pick with your dog if you do not allow proper imprinting time. Sometimes it takes longer than others, but it's about imprinting. Okay? In this particular behavior, 1 to 3 days of imprinting is all that is needed. We will soon illustrate several reliable methods to stop your dog from jumping on people. Some are breed or size specific, as little dogs are genetically different from larger dogs. Or some dogs are different from others simply because they have hunting behavior or prey behavior. defensive behaviors, etc. Some dogs are harder than others. In other words, you must practice methods that are more likely to work on your terrorist than not someone else's terrorist. So let's get started with day 1 of the challenge. In this first day, we will introduce the top 6 methods recommended to curb your dog from jumping on you. You will need to alternate all these methods as we move along. They're not listed in any particular order, they're just listed. Okay, so we're going to start with one that you probably have very little control over right now. And that is, the first and best method is to have never allow the dog to do this as puppies. Too late. You're watching this video, I know it's too late. So let's move on. However, if you get a puppy, then understand that this is what you should be doing from day 1. As lovable and cuddly as they may be, you cannot allow them to do that at the very beginning. They will get to the point where they always jump on you, and we just decided that was bad behavior. The second method is to hold their front paws when they jump on you. Okay, this is an action that is pretty easy. However, most people do it wrongly, so listen up and then watch the video. You must do this in the right order. Okay, 1, grab the front paws and hold them right. Okay, and they have to be held high. Now, ensure that the back legs are extended fully but are still on the ground. Make eye contact with the dog. Now, wait and wait and wait until the dog starts dancing. There's going to be a leg dancing action, sometimes a leg dancing action that says, let me go. You may hear some whining. Some dogs are much quicker to whine and you think you're hurting them, but you really are not. Wait until the whining takes place. Wait 2 to 3 seconds, then say the word off and drop the legs. Okay, so after you have dropped the paws, be certain to praise the action of off while all 4 paws are on the ground. Say good off, love, 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 quiet praise. Do not get them all riled up again. You're trying to praise the dog on the ground, not ask them to jump on you. Okay, now, this is an effective reason and an effective method of doing this, because what happens in most dogs is they stiffen up. You have extended those back legs enough where it kind of causes a mini Charlie horse, and it's unpleasant, just like it would be on you. Okay, so what happens is that it feels unpleasant. They want off. They want to be able to stretch them properly. Once that takes place and you say the command, then they start getting the idea that, hey, if they jump on you, you may do this again. And that's exactly what you will do. As soon as that praising off is done and you think the dog has understood it, you immediately will start the exercise and do some patting of your stomach, patting of your legs, anything that may invite the dog to jump up without inviting verbally to jump up. Does that make sense? And if the dog attempts it, immediately repeat it. Remember, this is part of the setup. Okay? You must set up your dog. So if he did it once and you got your opportunity to do this, then immediately repeat it by doing what I mentioned before, either patting of your tummy, patting of your legs, anything that gives a false sensation of an invitation for the dog to do it. Anyway, enough said. The third method is a backward snap of the collar. When the dog temporarily stops his action, be certain to praise the action while all 4 paws are on the ground. And again, follow with your good off. Remember, we always praise the action. We always praise the word, the command. We don't praise the gender, the dog, the name. Okay, we don't say good Lucy. We say good off. We don't say good girl. We say good off. Okay. The fourth method is a variation of the third. It's a self-snap correction by stepping on the leash. Okay, this is where you put the dog in front of you or you hold him in front of you. He must have a leash. You step on the leash just long enough. It takes a little bit of coordination. And then you cause the dog again to want to jump without saying the words. But the fact that you decide to snap or to pat your stomach or your legs should not be an invitation for anybody to jump on you, especially your dog. When he does, then he's going to get a self-correction as he's trying to jump up. Okay, just as you did in the earlier command, you're going to praise a good off when the dog fails to reach you. And that's going to be a self-correction, if you may. The fifth method today deals with refocusing the dog on something totally different. Okay? You are welcome to either bark a command the dog knows. So if he's trying to jump, you can bark a sit. Or throw a toy away from you. You know, you may enter the house with a ball in your hand. The minute he comes over and you see that jump midair, throw the ball against the wall, let it bounce, immediately go get it again, bounce it again. The idea is refocus the dog's energy on something totally different than this blind faith, this blind jump at their owner. When the dog stops the jump and is actually playing with the toy or ignoring it or actually has refocused completely, it is your turn to say good off again. It's your time to praise the condition of not jumping on you. The next method is to use a hand signal. Okay, this is a hand signal gesture for the dog. Probably not the gesture you want to do. I'm talking about a doggy gesture that signals enough to the dog. When he temporarily stops and acts confused, be certain to praise the action while all four paws are on the ground again. Never praise it off if the dog is midair. Okay, it's not really an off unless all four paws are on the ground. So, you're going to use some sort of method where the dog understands it. Some people like to use a fist. Some people use a hand, which is really a stay command. The bottom line is get the dog to start understanding that when you come in and this means off. Okay? It is important that we finish day one and also hold true the concept of imprinting. For the rest of the day, use every opportunity you have to set your dog up, okay, and to practice the top 6 methods we actually just talked about. Talk to your neighbor, have them help you, have the family members help you. The bottom line is have as many people help you with this, because the more you repeat this, the faster it's going to go. Now, turn the video off and come back tomorrow. No cheating. You must turn it off, and you must do this in day 1. Save day 2 for the second day. We have plenty of time. Goodbye. Welcome to day 2 of stopping your dog from jumping on you in just 3 days. In day 1, we cover the first 6 off methods, and hopefully you did them consistently. Okay, and these were having properly taught the puppy from day 1 to not jump on you, which we all decided that was too late now. The next one was holding their paws up long enough for them to feel uncomfortable. Let's hope you all try this. Next one was using the leash or collar combo to introduce a gentle backwards correction snap, which would keep the dog from jumping on you. Okay. The next one was actually stepping on the leash, which is really similar to the last one, but you step on the leash and the dog causes himself to have a backwards correction when they jump. We also show you how to refocus by barking a command at the dog or throwing a toy, etc. Last, we also introduce an easy to understand hand gesture or hand signal to teach them the same action. Okay. We also talk much about rewarding the dog when all 4 paws are on the ground. If you were good at repeating these sessions yesterday, then you are ready for day 2 of the challenge. If not, then turn this thing off again and go and do your imprinting session. Okay. Stop monkeying around. This is really important. It's a really critical part. Imprinting must take place. I'm going to assume that you did your homework because you're all good at this. So, alrighty, let's assume you did it, and let's move on to day 2 of this segment. Okay, the 7th method is to place your knee up. Okay, this is something that is pretty popular out there. As a matter of fact, most trainers teach you to do this first. This should not be first. This probably should be last in your whole repertoire of methods. Okay, so what do you do is, as the dog is coming at you, you pick up your leg and let the dog bump the knee. Okay, and it's a block. It should not be as a kick, and only when he jumps. Okay, so remember, it's important to block the jump and not kick the dog as he's jumping. Now, when the dog temporarily stops, be certain to praise and reward the action, and again, follow with the good off we talked about yesterday. Let's move on to the 8th method. The 8th method works well on soft dogs. This is an action where you push their head or nose down as they try to do it. Usually soft dogs don't just jump very high. They are, they just do little baby jumps. When they do that, you can actually put pressure on their head or their nose. If their nose is pointing down, there isn't a dog on earth that can actually jump. Okay, their head goes up. So the idea is if you have a soft dog, put a little bit of pressure on that nose and they will stop the jumping. Okay. The 9th method is to use a rear leg harness. These are commercially available harnesses, and what you do is they tie to the front leg, they tie to the back legs. Most dogs actually reject them due to the fact that there's too much stuff and apparatus around them and they don't like them. However, on the dogs that it does jump, it's pretty reliable in correcting it, and it works well or best on medium to large size dogs. Several companies make these. We will not recommend one over the other. However, if you've tried the other methods and you still have a problem, then you may want to consider this. Also, remember that you must follow with that good off, the command, right? That we're trying to imprint, so we must reward the real good action. So if the dog is not jumping as a reward as a result of this harness, then they should also receive the good off command. The last and 10th method we believe to be effective is to move out of the way of the dog when they jump on you, or they try to jump on you. Basically, as the dog is jumping up, you turn around and walk away from them, basically ignoring the dog. Okay, that works on some dogs, especially the ones that are somewhat sensitive. Okay, if you move out of the way and they miss the jump and now you walk away, they're pretty confused as to why it is that you're jumping away. So they're going to go over and follow you and get in front of you again, and they may attempt to jump. And if you again move out of the way and walk away, they're again going to chase you. By the second or third time, they're no longer jumping. They're trying to figure out why it is that you are walking away. Okay, as they do that, guess what? Now you're going to follow again with a good off, good opportunity to get on a knee or both knees or just bend down and give them the attention for not jumping on you. What do you say? Good off. It's important that we finish day 2 of this challenge and continue to hold true to the concept of proper imprinting. Okay, so at this stage, we have covered every method that we can think of at this point. For the rest of the day, use every opportunity you have to set your dog up. Remember, this is about imprinting. You started day 1 with imprinting. Day 2 becomes mostly imprinting. Okay, have your neighbors help you, whatever it takes to repeat this. Okay, remember that dogs are really, really smart. And by now, they're probably figuring ways of going around the barrage of training that you're throwing at them. Okay, so the only part of the training to date that should be really consistent are 3 pieces. Okay, one is to not allow the dog to jump on you at all. Right? That's an easy one. 2, that they receive praises and rewards for having the 4 paws on the ground. So no jump and having 4 paws on the ground always wins a reward. Pretty easy as well. And number 3, that the dog now has a new command called off. So from a distance, as you repeat this, and you see that action, or you see him, sizing up grandma, you should be able from a distance to save grandma by saying the word off as the dog is learning it now. Okay. Now, turn this video off again. This is day 2. I want you to turn this video off again and come back tomorrow. You must repeat this homework. Most of it is what you did on day 1. The following ones is what we just covered a little while in day 2. Turn it off. Go do the homework. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye. Welcome to day 3 of stopping your dog from jumping on you in just 3 days. We use day 3 to recap and to heavily imprint the learned lessons that we've covered so far. In the last 2 days, we have covered the top 10 methods in correcting this behavior. And we instructed you to imprint the lessons reliably every day. Remember? If you did this, I bet the issue is gone by now. Typically, we call it a fix the dog in 3 days, but if you do it right, I bet you can do it much quicker. However, we're going to do day number 3 anyway, because this today deals with imprinting. Now, let's recap the methods really quick, because I don't want you to ever forget them. Okay? Remember, the first one was the one we failed miserably at, or someone prior to us has already failed us, and that is the having properly taught your puppy to not jump on you from day 1. Okay? So, we'll skip that for now. We're going to move on to number 2. Remember, number 2 was holding their paws up long enough for them to feel uncomfortable. And remember, that actually works pretty well. That's a really good procedure on most dogs. You also learn to use the leash and the collar combo to do a backward snap correction that lets the dog know that that's not an acceptable condition. Okay? A play on that is to let the dog do the same. You just let the leash drop on the ground. You step on it, and that also, when the dog jumps, gives himself a self-correction. Okay? That also works really, really well. Our trainer showed you how to do that in the film. We also show you how to refocus the dog by saying a command that the dog knows, or by throwing something, really refocusing the dog on something totally different. That also works well. We have also introduced a hand signal to teach them the off command, either a fist or a hand signal as a stop or a halt, that if you repeat it with the rest of the commands, they quickly learn what this means, okay? And it means don't jump on dad, don't jump on mom. We also showed you the use of the knee as a block to have the dog not jump on you. Okay, remember, this is a block. It shouldn't be a forward movement or a kick. It should be just picking up your knee for the dog to bump into it. You learn to push their noses down on some of the softer breeds. Some of the dogs that are pretty soft on jumping, but if you push the nose down as well as the head, there isn't a dog on earth that will jump if they are soft nature type dogs. We showed you also a commercially available harness that you can actually tie to the front and back legs. It's rejected by some dogs, actually by a good number of dogs actually, simply because it's just too much equipment, too much apparatus to be wearing. But on the dogs that it does work on, it's pretty reliable. If they tolerate it, it's pretty reliable and working. Only move to this if the other methods have not worked or if you're struggling with it. Okay. We also illustrated the method of moving away from the dog when they jump. Remember? This is when you turn around and you say goodbye. I'm going to go elsewhere, and the dog's going to follow you, and they're going to create that same condition. They may jump. You're going to turn around and walk away elsewhere again. You do this enough times, the dog stops jumping, and they're very, very confused as to why it is that you're moving away from them. Again, this works best on some dogs that are considered to be a little bit more sensitive than others. So, you're now in the home stretch of this class, stopping your dog from jumping on you. It's really very, very possible in just 3 days. I think you've seen it so far. Today, we will simply go from method to method, ensuring the dog never has a chance to jump on anyone. The idea is to keep the dog guessing, okay? 100% of the time, not just some of the time. The dog must guess your action 100% of the time. So you're going to mix these methods, okay? You don't stick to one, mix it. Even if that one is very effective, mix them. Create a new one, okay? So, day 3 is really intended to be about imprinting. Remember that day 1, at the very end of all this, the homework was imprinting. Day 2, most of it was imprinting. Today, all of it is imprinting. So if the dog doesn't learn this, then we probably have not been doing our homework. Hint, hint. Go back to day 1, watch this, start all over, and do it. Okay? So, part of imprinting is to not allow the dog other opportunities to break the new rules. Don't allow the dog to climb on you while sitting. Okay, you may not consider that jumping on you, but while you go through all these classes and you teach this dog new behaviors, it is jumping on you. So don't allow him to climb or crawl up on your lap while you're watching TV. For the remainder of these lessons, do this for the next couple of weeks. Don't allow any of that. The jumping will stop. You can then resume to your normal life of letting the dog on the couch or the bed or whatever it is you do. So, for now, is you're not going to allow him to climb. You're not going to allow him to climb into your bed, on top of your couch, etc., etc. Okay? And if they do, you're going to say an off, and you're going to push them off. The idea is they have to get the lesson that off means off anytime you say it, or certain conditions you may not need to say them. They just don't, they're not allowed to jump. The next item is you're going to greet the dog at the door with your new hand signal. Every time you come into the house, you're going to say the off command, you're going to say hello, you're going to get to their level. You're going to get on a knee, both knees. If you have bad knees like I do, you're just going to bend down and you're going to say your hellos, but you're going to raise yourself to their level as opposed to causing them to say hello by standing high. Okay, so you're going to spend time at their level. That's the bottom line, and that little piece there is you must spend time at their level to say their hello. That's the reason they're jumping up, is they have not said their hellos. So why don't you lower yourself, and you will get an opportunity to do so. The idea in curbing unwanted or cemented behaviors is to have an arsenal, a whole bag of tricks. And these arsenals is all your training methods and the tools ready to change the behavior, the unwanted behavior. Does that make sense? So if you have these 10 methods, use them, mix them, be prepared, set them up. The dog quickly learns that jumping is not in their best interest. By the way, you can apply this to any other behavior you're trying to teach your dog to do. Okay, just figure out what those are and create an arsenal. Okay, or watch some of our other challenge videos, and you'll get some other ideas on how to do this as well. So, for now, I will say thank you for taking the challenge and making it better for you, for your dog, for your life. The idea is to get your dog to stop jumping. I am convinced that by the time you reach this segment of the video, you probably have a totally different dog. And if not, I challenge you again to go to day 1, watch it, do the homework. You got to do the imprint. So, train your dog. They deserve it. So do you. Oh, by the way, Your friends say thank you. Goodbye.